NLG spokesperson on Foreign Affairs, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, has bemoaned the treatment that's meted out to Ghanaians when they apply for visa at the various embassies in the country. He is describing them, how they are treated as dehumanizing. The North Tongue MP today delivered a statement on the matter in Parliament, calling on the legislative body to use all means to get the embassies to change their ways of handling applications. The Member of Parliament listed lack of a decent waiting area for applicants, huge charges as visa application fees, unfair treatment by staff of the embassies, unclear guidelines, among others, are some of the challenges that Ghanaians must confront in order to secure a visa. He also argued that the time for reforms was due, despite the possible diplomatic implications. We can go over to Parliament right now, where my colleague Joseph Akabley is standing by with the Member of Parliament, Okudzeto-Ablakwa, for a very quick chat. Joseph, take it away from here.
Well, so Gifty, the latest on this matter is the fact that the Speaker of Parliament has directed that the Foreign Affairs Committee investigate the matter and report back to the House for some action to be taken. But I'm engaging the North Tongue MP to get an understanding of what led to he making that statement on the floor of the House in the first place. Thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
First, you made a point about concerns by your constituents. What exactly are these concerns that they put across?
Well, yes, you're right. Concerns from my constituents, concerns from the general public. As ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee, I received tons and tons of messages. Ghanaians dissatisfied, Ghanaians outraged, Ghanaians were very unhappy about the way they are treated when they apply for visas at these embassies. For now, we are leaving the embassies out, but I did indicate that I had, for some weeks, running into months, carried out independent assessment of all of these complaints, and I found out that there is merit, that indeed, if you look at how visa applicants are treated, no decent place for them to sit and wait for their interview sessions. They are left at the mercies of the vagaries of the weather. They are not given dignified treatment, the way they are spoken to, the way they are treated, even when it comes to payment. There are all kinds of things they are paying for, which is not clear to them. There are all kinds of fees and charges that some of the embassies have introduced. There are premium charges for text messages, premium charges for emails, and all kinds of charges that are shrouded in really secrecy, you will say. There is no transparency about it. The level of opacity is just mind-boggling. And if you come to consider the fact that you also have a situation where some of the services, the visa application services, have been outsourced. So you now have private players who have come in. And at some of these centers, if you go there and you see the treatment being meted out to Ghanaian visa applicants, sometimes by even our own nationals, certainly not the best. So I've raised a number of issues to do with the indignity that Ghanaians are subjected to, issues to do with the lack of transparency about the whole visa application process, issues to also do with the fact that there's a certain sense by many Ghanaian visa applicants that they are victims of some form of exploitation, over commercialization of the process, which is non-refundable. Remember that these are largely non-refundable fees. They tell you that pay extra so that you can receive your visa decision in 7 days. Sometimes it's been 3 weeks, 4 weeks. You have to pay again to even get feedback as to what is happening to your visa application process. And certainly this cannot continue. And I must say that I'm really grateful to the Right Honourable Speaker for the approach and for the consequential orders that he gave. I'm very pleased with his decision that the Foreign Affairs Committee should cooperate with his office and that we should probe this matter, visit the embassies, and ensure that these things change.
Talking about some of the challenges you spoke of, I mean, it appears that the embassies are a bit overwhelmed, and your minority leader, while contributing to that statement, he pointed out that it appears there is a desire on our part, because if you talk about people not being treated fairly, if you have fewer people to deal with, you can deliver better services. So perhaps is it not the case that we are not creating the conditions necessary in the country? That is why many people want to fly out of the country, for which reason they are at the mercy of these individuals who man the embassies.
If you intend to be shabby, if you intend to treat people in a very dehumanizing way. Even if one person appears before you the whole week, you will met out that kind of treatment. But if the standards are high and you intend to treat your clients very well, with dignity, with respect, regardless of the numbers, it is for the embassies to take a second look at their scheduling, take a second look at how they give out appointments, take a second look at the kind of arrangements that they put in place. The fact that you are a visa applicant doesn't mean that, you know, you don't deserve basic courtesies. You can't get a decent place to sit and wait. You are left to fend for yourself on the shoulders of the streets, some in the middle of the street, some at runabout. We all see them on a daily basis. And the records of this house will show that I have been on this crusade for a while. 5 years ago, during the vetting of the former foreign minister, the Honorable Hannah Tete, I raised this issue. So I've been raising this issue. This must be the third or fourth time.
But shouldn't it be of concern to the country as a whole? I mean, your minority leader again talked about migration. It is taking place in other countries, about the fact that hundreds of people who are Ghanaians who can contribute to our workforce wanting to leave the country. That is a part of the conversation that we all admit that we must look at. Is this not something that we should?
Yeah, I mean, certainly there is a part of the discussion that has to do with creating opportunities here. We must have that discussion, despite the fact that our GLSS, the Ghana Living Standard Survey, reveals that poverty has declined from about 51% in the mid-90s to 24.2% currently. That's almost a quarter of the population. So there is still work to do, though we have been tackling poverty. There's still the need for us to create more opportunities here. But you need to remember that it's not everybody going for a visa service who is seeking greener pastures out there, who does not intend to come back.
Some who are going for education, business.
Yes, some are going for business, some are going to invest in those countries, some are just going to attend graduations of their children and come back here. Some are just going as tourists and all of that, going to spend money in those countries. And if you go to airports, all the international airlines are full every night. I mean, these are people buying tickets themselves and all of that. So if it was a case that these are desperados, we are such a desperate country, I mean, all the airlines will not be scrambling to come to Ghana and will not be full every night. So there are people who are well-to-do here. And whether you are rich or poor, we are talking about human dignity. You are entitled to be treated fairly, to be treated with respect. What we are seeing in this country, and it's getting worse, I tell you. I've been looking into this matter for some weeks now. It's getting worse. If you go to even the outsourced places, the private people who have been brought in, how they are treating, how they talk to people. There are numerous times that people have left those centers, you know, crying, they feel so dehumanized, and they call me. If you visit some of these embassies, you know, during the interview sessions, how people are just waiting under the sun, the scorching sun. I mean, no attention to just extend some basic courtesies. How much does a bench cost? How much does it cost to just get a reception area where people can sit in dignity and wait for their turn? We are not questioning their decision to grant visas or not. We are not saying, I mean, you can as well even refuse all the visas to the applicants from Ghana. That's not our concern. Every country has the right to have their own determinations, how they do their background check and how they... But what we are talking about is about the need to ensure that when people have applied for visas, they have paid for a certain service. Let's extend to them basic courtesies. Let's respect their dignity. Let us also be transparent about how we go about the whole process so that it doesn't create acrimony. We are not fighting with anybody. This is not confrontational. We don't want to mar our international relations with...
But the Speaker has asked that your committee looks in, the committee of which you are a member of, definitely you'll be investigating the matter, you'll be engaging the embassies. We all know that sometimes when you don't approach these things, well, they could affect our diplomatic relationship, especially when we all admit that it appears the relationship is not a balanced one for most of the countries news that our individuals want to troop over to the country. How will your committee be approaching them?
I can assure you that our committee will approach these investigations, which will be carried out with the support of the Speaker's office, bearing in mind the need to make sure that our diplomatic relations are intact, that our diplomatic relations with these countries are not affected in any way. I believe that our friends from these countries will also be happy that at the end of the day we agree on some arrangements, some reforms that will even enhance this relationship, because these relationships are mutually beneficial. In the world today, you need every country, you need everybody, and we collaborate and cooperate on so many issues. And it's important that in the spirit of multilateralism, we all see how we can forge ahead together. And remember that it's a two-way. If you look at my statement, I was very balanced. I said that it is also important that our embassies in their countries also take note of some of these concerns we are raising and make sure that they are treating their citizens also fairly. The parliaments of these countries will not sit idle, will not refuse to speak if they also notice that our embassy staff are not, treating citizens in other countries the way they should be treated. So it's a balanced win-win arrangement we are calling for. And this is not confrontation at all. We are not at war with anybody. And that's why even for diplomatic reasons at this point, I'm not mentioning countries so that it doesn't look like we are picking on particular countries. We don't have anything against any country. We want to have as many friends in the world as possible. As Jesus Christ said, if it be possible, be at peace with all manner of persons. That's really what Ghana's foreign policy has been about, to be at peace with everybody. And that will guide us. But we would also work expeditiously so that we can hope to get some relief for the thousands of Ghanaians who on a daily basis are being subjected to this dehumanizing treatment.
Apart from those thousands of Ghanaians, that's the final point, we know few ones who are often privileged, and your leader said that the privilege that has been given to members of parliament, visa, in terms of visa application, he thinks that it's high time they should desist from abusing that. We all know recently the big news about some members of parliament and some former members of parliament abusing the process that concern you, an MP yourself. You've raised this issue on the floor. Your committee has been asked to look into it. You think it's a genuine call he's making, and what steps should all members of parliament be taking?
Certainly a genuine call that the minority leader made, that it's important that all VIPs who have been extended special courtesies do not abuse those courtesies. But those courtesies themselves, remember that in recent times it has come up for some debate whether they are even intact, if they have been reviewed, if certain fetters have been imposed. And so tomorrow I have a question filed on this matter. The Honorable Foreign Minister will be coming to Parliament to respond to two questions from me, one on whether the treatment of former presidents, former, people in a certain VIP category, ministers of state, members of parliament, whether the treatment, the diplomatic courtesies extended to them have been reviewed in any way. This became a matter of...
It flows from the British High Commission.
Yes, and the U.S. Ambassador's statements that he made some time ago. So I want to get what the status is. And so the Honourable Foreign Minister will be speaking to that tomorrow. And then there's a second question on what arrangements are being made to prevent foreigners from accessing Ghanaian passports. That is becoming a major issue. I
think quite recently there was a Nigerian kidnapper who was picked up, and it emerged that he had Ghanaian passports, especially when citizens are finding it difficult to get same.
You are right. And so tomorrow is a day I'm looking forward to see what the Foreign Ministry and the current government is doing about all of these matters. And I think that we have to continue to work together within the spirit of a bipartisan cooperation. And when we raise these issues, we are not seeking to bring down any government or to score any political points or to bring down our political opponents. Not at all. We are hoping to work together within an arrangement that infuses dynamism, infuses responsiveness, so that the people who voted for us to come here would know that we are addressing their issues, and that Foreign Affairs Committee is not just about attending conferences, UN General Assembly meetings, and having cocktails and dinners, and then going home to sleep. But we must be seen responding to these day-to-day issues that matter to the people.
That should include getting access to passports. That is one issue that every Ghanaian is almost concerned about. You
are damn right, and I can tell you that the Foreign Affairs Committee, this matter engages our attention a lot. We've met the minister at least twice on this, and I'm hoping that tomorrow in my follow-up questions I would also raise this concern, which most Ghanaians have. I mean, the former government, I know, started some work to regionalize the system so that it's not too exactly. So it's not too centralized. And I think that 3 additional centers were opened. I've seen the program of the current government to continue with that, to expand it. And then I also think that the passport office can get more modern. You don't really need to stick to these old manual ways, people queue in and all of that. You can get more modern, use IT systems. You can use the courier services that Ghana Post provides. Ghana Post traditionally is better at doing that than doing apps, by the way.
That in itself is controversial.
and then let's get the Ghana passport office to just get more modern and more responsive to the people. But these are matters that, as I've told you, the Foreign Affairs Committee will continue to work with to probe in further and make sure that we get the needed results.
So, Gifty, you heard the North Thong MP, the Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa. He made that statement on the floor of Parliament that has got the Speaker to direct that the Foreign Affairs Committee investigate the matter. In simple terms, has to do with how Ghanaian visa applicants are being treated by these embassies. So we'll definitely be keeping our eyes on this one to find out what especially they'll be coming up with in terms of recommendations on the steps forward to change this situation that he complained about.
Right, so certainly this is a matter that a lot of Ghanaians are concerned about. So we'll be keeping our eyes on that and looking forward to hear what parliamentarians have to say tomorrow on the floor of Parliament. Thank you so much, Joseph Akable, there in the office with the Okujeto Ablakwa, Member of Parliament for North Thong. You're still watching The Pulse with me, Gifty and Dopia. Let me take a very quick break, but when I return, I'm going to take you to Kumasi, where we understand a building that's weak is about to be pulled down. We'll be there live to cover the building as it goes down live here on the show. Please stay with us.